Wendell Willkie, the Republican nominee in the 1940 U.S. presidential election, was a figure of considerable complexity and intrigue. Beyond his political endeavors, his life was marked by a series of events and relationships that were both scandalous and captivating. This video delves into 10 of the most compelling aspects of Willkie's life, shedding light on the controversies and stories that defined him. Number 1. A progressive household, early life and personal relationships. Born on February 18, 1892, in Elwood, Indiana, Wendell Lewis Willkie was the fourth of 6 children in a family that defied the norms of their time. His parents, Herman and Henrietta Willkie, were both practicing attorneys, a rarity in an era when female lawyers were scarce. Henrietta was notably one of the first women admitted to the Indiana bar. The Willkie household was a hub of intellectual discourse, with nightly debates that honed Wendell's rhetorical skills. His father, an immigrant from Prussia, was deeply involved in progressive politics, even hosting William Jennings Bryan during his 1900 presidential campaign. These early experiences instilled in Willkie a passion for political engagement. In January 1918, Willkie married Edith Wilk, a librarian from Rushville, Indiana. The couple had one son, Philip, born in 1919. However, as Willkie's career progressed, the marriage faced challenges. By the 1930s, the couple had grown apart, with Willkie immersing himself in New York's social scene. He formed a close relationship with Irita Van Doren, the book review editor of the New York Herald Tribune. Cultured and well-connected, Van Doren introduced Willkie to new intellectual circles, and their relationship evolved into a romantic affair. Unlike Van Doren, who was discreet, Willkie was more open about their liaison, making it an open secret among journalists covering his 1940 presidential campaign. Despite the widespread knowledge, the press maintained a code of silence, and the affair remained unreported during his lifetime. Number 2. From Democrat to Republican, a political transformation. Willkie's political journey was unconventional. Initially a Democrat, he was a delegate at the 1932 Democratic National Convention, supporting Franklin D. Roosevelt's nomination. He even contributed $150 to Roosevelt's campaign. However, as Roosevelt's New Deal policies expanded government intervention in business, Willkie grew disillusioned. By 1939, he had switched his allegiance to the Republican Party, driven by his belief that the Democratic Party had abandoned its principles of limited government. This shift culminated in his nomination as the Republican candidate in the 1940 presidential election, a remarkable turnaround for someone who had been a Democrat just a few years prior. Number 3. The 1940 presidential campaign, accusations and alliances. The 1940 presidential campaign between Wendell Willkie and Franklin D. Roosevelt was one of the most intense in American history. Willkie, a political outsider, attacked Roosevelt's decision to seek a third term, arguing that it could lead to an American totalitarian government. He also accused Roosevelt of secretly planning to enter World War II, claiming that the president's policies were pushing the U.S. into the conflict. Despite the bitter campaign, something remarkable happened after Willkie's defeat. He and Roosevelt developed a working relationship. Roosevelt, recognizing Willkie's talents and influence, sought to involve him in non-political roles to unify the nation. In an unprecedented move, the president sent his former rival on diplomatic missions to Britain, the Middle East, and the Soviet Union. Willkie's reports from these trips even influenced Roosevelt's foreign policy. This raises an interesting question: could Willkie and Roosevelt have worked together more closely if the political climate had been different? Or was their rivalry too great to ever allow real cooperation? How do you think history might have changed if Willkie had won in 1940? Would America have entered World War II sooner or later? Write your thoughts in the comments. Number 4. An affair to remember, the Irita Van Doren connection. Willkie's relationship with Irita Van Doren was not just a personal affair but also an intellectual partnership. Van Doren, a prominent literary figure, expanded Willkie's horizons, introducing him to literature and ideas that influenced his worldview. Their affair, while known in journalistic circles, was kept from the public eye, reflecting the media's discretion at the time. This relationship showcased a different side of Willkie, a man deeply engaged in cultural and intellectual pursuits, contrasting with his public image as a corporate lawyer and politician. Number 5. Corporate battles, defending private utilities against the TVA. As president of the Commonwealth and Southern Corporation, Willkie became the face of private utilities opposing the Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA, a New Deal project aimed at providing public power. He argued that the TVA represented unfair government competition against private enterprise. This battle was not just about business but also about differing visions for America's future: private enterprise versus government intervention. Willkie's articulate defense of his position elevated his national profile, setting the stage for his political ambitions. Number 6. A secret backer, the William Rhodes Davis connection. In the 1940 election, industrialist William Rhodes Davis, who had significant business dealings with Nazi Germany, covertly financed a radio address by labor leader John L. Lewis, in which Lewis endorsed Willkie and criticized Roosevelt. Davis funneled money through multiple channels to evade campaign finance laws, all without Willkie's knowledge. When Willkie learned of Davis's actions, he was incensed and distanced himself from any association. This incident highlighted the murky intersections of politics, business, and foreign influence during a tumultuous period in global affairs. Number 7. The Wisconsin primary debacle, a campaign's downfall. In 1944, Willkie sought the Republican nomination again and focused his efforts on the Wisconsin primary. Despite his previous national prominence, he faced resistance within the party. His liberal views and support for Roosevelt's foreign policies alienated conservative Republicans. The Chicago Tribune and the Milwaukee Sentinel criticized him relentlessly, emphasizing his Wall Street connections and questioning his Republican credentials. On April 4, 1944, Willkie suffered a crushing defeat in Wisconsin, finishing last in every district. This loss effectively ended his political aspirations and underscored the deep divisions within the Republican Party. Number 8. One World, a vision ahead of its time. After his 1940 defeat, Wendell Willkie embarked on a global journey that changed his political outlook. In 1942, he visited multiple war zones and met with world leaders, including Joseph Stalin and Chiang Kai-shek. This trip inspired his 1943 book, One World, which became a bestseller, selling over 1.5 million copies in its first year. In it, Willkie argued for global cooperation, warning against American isolationism. He envisioned a post-war world where international alliances would prevent future conflicts. However, his advocacy for a united world order was controversial. Many Republicans viewed his stance as dangerously aligned with Roosevelt's vision for the United Nations. Conservative isolationists accused him of betraying American sovereignty. Even Roosevelt, despite appreciating Willkie's efforts, felt that he was overstepping his role as an unofficial diplomat. Willkie's One World campaign alienated him from the Republican establishment, effectively ending his hopes of running for president again. Number 9. A mysterious and sudden death. Wendell Willkie's sudden death in 1944 shocked the nation. Just months after his crushing defeat in the Wisconsin primary, his health deteriorated rapidly. He suffered a series of heart attacks and died on October 8, 1944, at the age of 52. His death sparked speculation about whether the immense stress of his political career had contributed to his early demise. Journalists noted that Willkie had lost a significant amount of weight in the final months of his life, and some insiders believed he had been suffering from an undiagnosed illness for years. Others suggested that the pressures of being a political outcast, rejected by both Republicans and Democrats, had taken a toll on his health. President Roosevelt, his former rival, paid tribute to him, calling him a great American. Willkie's passing marked the end of one of the most unusual and independent political careers in U.S. history. Number 10. What if? The legacy of Wendell Willkie. Though Willkie never held elected office, his impact on American politics was profound. His transformation from a corporate lawyer to a political maverick was unprecedented. Historians continue to debate whether he could have altered the course of history had he won in 1940. Some argue that his leadership might have led the US into World War II sooner, changing the war's trajectory. Others believe his advocacy for global cooperation foreshadowed the formation of the United Nations. His independent approach to politics, rejecting strict party loyalties, made him both an inspiration and a cautionary tale. Many moderates admired his willingness to challenge his own party, while conservatives saw him as a warning of what happens when a politician strays too far from the base.